Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Green Zone podcast with yours truly, Cameron Green, here on the day before the Final Four kicks off this weekend on Friday, April the 4th, here at the College of Saints Classics Media Studio, exclusively here on our YouTube page at the Green Zone podcast. It's going to be kind of a different episode for me. I don't really think I've ever had a deep dive into where I think college basketball stands and where I think it's going to shake up after this weekend and after Monday's national championship game because I got some ideas. I got some thoughts how I feel about how the college basketball landscape is changing ever so quickly. And my thoughts kind of this NCAA tournament as well. Maybe the lackluster of it. Like I'm gonna speak my mind a little bit when I say how I feel this bracket is going and how this tournament is going. Well, like I said, my bracket not so great. I will say this. Looking at that right now, not awesome, not great at the moment, but we'll be sitting here and talking about how I feel about this year's tournament. So the Final Four is upon us here this weekend. Auburn and Florida will be taking on Duke and Houston in San Antonio. The first time that all one seeds have made the Final Four, I believe, since what 2008. I was also at San Antonio. Look at I'll give my predictions later on in this episode. It's strictly a college basketball episode, so I'm going to give all you I got here into the college basketball landscape. But I really do think this is probably maybe I won't say the best case scenario for college basketball, but this should be very well the best Final Four in terms of what we have on paper that we've had in quite some time. I think the fact that these four teams are probably true the best four teams in the nation, regardless of what your brackets might say and what you might think inside your head. Me, I thought St. John's was one of the best teams in the country. Can't lay an egg against Calipari in Arkansas. Just can't happen. But nevertheless, I really like Auburn, Florida, Duke, and Houston all in this. It's a great Final Four. Like it should be on paper the best Final Four we've had in a long time, but it doesn't necessarily mean I think this is one of the best tournaments of all time. Now, I think it's very easy to say the tournament doesn't really reflect on the Final Four, and I don't think the Final Four reflects on the tournament. You talk about some years ago when it was Florida Atlantic and San Diego State making the run. NC State makes their run years ago, and it kind of feels like some of these teams, quote unquote, don't belong, even though they beat all the teams necessary to get to the Final Four. But therefore, you see a team, a one seed will fall in the second or third round. Then that eight seed or that six seed, seven seed, however you want to put it, all of a sudden doesn't have to play that one seed or that two seed, that three seed, and so on and so forth. So obviously they don't really have a true run to the Final Four that most teams have to go through. But I'm kind of disappointed a little bit in the tournament this year. I'm going to share my screen I have here of the brackets. And I just want everyone to kind of get a feel for what I'm thinking about here. So, and I'll get to how this applies. Auburn and Creighton, very fine. We'll be like the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight. A 1 and a 2, a 1 and a 2, a 1 and a 2, and a 1 and a 3. Okay, not that crazy. Not that crazy of an Elite Eight, but I'm kind of missing out on some of these upsets here. This is not just my personal vendetta I have against my bracket at not doing so hot right now. But like McNeese, okay, we had two 12 seeds win. We had a 10, we had an 11. This is a great side of the bracket, but I also think it was kind of a predictable upsets that were going to happen. And we all thought Colorado State had a chance against Memphis, that Drake actually could beat Missouri, and in fact they did. 7-10s, like are they really upsets? It's like 8-9s. Are they truly upsets? I don't really know. On this side, another 10, but again, 10-7s. It can kind of go either way. I think if you're a 10 and up, maybe it's considered an upset. But here's what I'm going to say about this. I think that this is one of the worst case scenarios for college basketball. And I think it's only going to get worse because of the NIL money that's being thrown around to certain guys. The transfer portal opens up before the national championship, like many were asking for, so it gave people more time. But we saw too that once coaches kind of got eliminated, they were kind of like, all right, I'm out too, because you can't really go into a program, or if you are a program that has a vacant head coach spot, you can't really enter the transfer portal and not having a face to your program. It's kind of like having no commander in an army. Like you really can't have someone up front there to be the face of it. So I'm going to play the Minnesota card, like I probably do a few times on this show. But Ben Johnson gets fired right before the NCAA tournament. Nico Medved is kind of the guy out the gate. Ben McCollum of Drake is linked there a little bit, but it's mostly Nico Medved. Medved beats Memphis. It's great. Gophers still don't have a head coach at this time. Colorado State loses. Nico Medved the next day is Gophers head coach. And they can now go on their run on the transfer portal. You get some kids come in from Colorado State. But the focus is on about quick action, quick response, because there's no time to find the right coach anymore. You kind of already have thoughts in your head, I think, before you're firing a coach. You can't tell me the University of Minnesota doesn't have a thought when they fired Ben Johnson of, here's a short list of guys we'd like to go after, and we need to know very quickly. I'm surprised that that doesn't happen. So I think that this is kind of a product of what happens in the players' side of the NIL bleeds over to the coaches' side of the NIL too. Now, coaches taking promotions, nothing new. That is nothing new in college basketball. But I think the way it's operated and handled kind of is changing a little bit because the game is changing itself. And it's not just basketball, it's all college sports. It all is coming back into doing a whole 180 here. It's not basketball's not special here. But in terms of the transfer portal, I think why this is the worst tournament we've seen in quite some time is because I think it's allowing these bigger programs to become buyers, if you want to say, and the smaller teams to become basically kind of a glorified farm system for college basketball. So, an instance, you get a guy that plays for, we'll say McNeese. Kid plays for McNeese, plays there 2 or 3 years. McNeese finally gets into the tournament, and this kid has a game. So, this kid has 25 points against Kentucky. Just a scenario. That kid now gets a chance to go play at a higher program. Well, the coach probably leaves because no one expected that team to go any farther. So the coach leaves. It's a valid reason to leave, I would say. But this kid transfers to, we'll say, St. Mary's. Goes to St. Mary's, has himself quite a year. He wants to take his fifth year. All right. Plays at St. Mary's 1 year. And he had a really good year at St. Mary's. All of a sudden, now Kentucky's going after him, and he's going to play there. So the kid that started at McNeese ends up at Kentucky, and McNeese doesn't get any of the benefit from having a kid and bringing him in and giving him a chance. McNeese probably pulling, what, 2-star recruits? If that even. So, like, you really, it's kind of washing away the honor or the pride that these schools once had in producing guys that played for 3, 4 years. Like this year, I think we're looking at Houston. Houston's a great example of these teams that have played together for a long time. These guys have played together and they don't transfer very well. Kelvin Sampson's done a great job of keeping these kids around. But that's like only the benefit that Houston has of these 4 teams that are in the Final Four is that Houston has guys that have played together for multiple years. Like that doesn't happen. Now the guys, the era of guys staying 4 years when they're clearly NBA ready, that's long gone. That's been gone for quite some time now. But I think when you're looking about what college basketball stands for and what us as fans love to see, is we like seeing those 14 seed Troy goes up against Alabama because that Troy team has played together for 3 or 4 years. And it feels like these guys that go to schools like Tulane, Troy, Bowling Green, Ball State, they are trying to get themselves to the next level, which is not necessarily the NBA. The next level is maybe a mid-tier conference up that pays me a little more money because realistically only 60 guys get drafted every year, and that's around the world. The other part is that that is being shifted now to a multi-year step here. So if you want to start out at Troy, all of a sudden maybe I can make my way up. Oh, starting to get somewhere. I'm going to go play at Colorado. Oh, yeah. I'm going to go play at Colorado. My next step is probably maybe play at a higher level. Let's say Big Ten school, say we'll play at Rutgers. There we go. Rutgers, give yourself a good spot. So I think in essence, college basketball is starting to deteriorate from what we love about it, and where it's going is kind of becoming a buyer's world. It's a consumer world. Like what I love most about college basketball, and I'm not. I will say this on my show here. I'm not a huge college football guy. I don't love college football. More of an NFL guy. I love the NFL. Love football, as you've probably seen my weekly episodes here coming the fall. But I love the NFL because you know what you're getting. There's salary caps, there's buyers, like every guy is making money. And I'd love that the competition's a little bit tougher. Now games aren't as blowouts. You know, it's not a 72 to 64 game. But I love that that's the best of the best are playing on the field, you know, against the best, coached by the best organizations that run the best. You know, it's kind of like a fun little way of you know you're at the top. Major League Baseball the same way. I love how the best in the world are playing against each other. Only really the true best get to make to the majors at some point in their career. Now, in college football, my problem is that it feels like it's the same teams every single year in that college football playoff. Now that it's expanded, makes it a little more easier to root for some teams. I will admit I liked it this year when it expanded. Gave you a reason to watch a little more of the early games. It felt like a bracket in a weird way instead of like a Final Four of the same four teams that we see every year. It's either like an Ohio State, it's an Alabama, it's an LSU, it's a Clemson, it's a Notre Dame, Michigan, so on and so forth. But what college football is doing is it's still the same dozen teams in that mix for that final spot. I think college basketball is slowly becoming that. Like I don't think we're going to see a seven seed make a run to the final four and be able to win it based off sole the fact that they've played together for a long time and now they want to come together for a national tournament run. We don't see that very often. Now, even like in 2019 pre-COVID, that Virginia team that won had a lot of guys who had played together for a little while, DeAndre Hunter and Kyle Guy, and there was Ty Jerome was on that team. Like there were good players on that 2019 Virginia team, which kind of feels like the last, you know, the last great championship team that was played under the normal rules, and it's been a complete 180, 360, 540, whatever you want to call it, in the last so years with the COVID rules. Will it ever get back to that? I don't know. Like, will it ever get back to the way it was before, where guys were loyal to certain programs because they weren't making money and they wanted to play under a great coach, like that Virginia team? If you got Tony Bennett, coached by Jay Wright, Roy Williams, are you really gonna want to leave? Now we see guys coached by some of the best in the country, Matt Painter and John Schreier and you know Hubert Davis. Like we see them leave those programs for money, for opportunity. And here's my solution. This is my pitch to the NCAA. If you're watching this, I doubt you are, but if this is anyone's watching this, the NCAA, and it's not as simple as, but I believe you should be able to transfer one time, one time. In this new transfer portal where there's no rules and everyone can fly off the market and basically start bidding for players legally. Now, we never know how much they actually make, but it's all estimates. You should be able to transfer once in your 4 year, or you can transfer twice if your coach leaves. So I start at UCLA, having a good time there, playing there a year, don't play as much year two. All right, I want to leave. Okay, I transfer somewhere else. My one transfer. I go to a different school. Say I go to Western Kentucky. I play out my years there because I can't transfer because I've used it. But I'm going to say this. If you start a different school, you transfer, and all of a sudden you go to a different school, coach gets a promotion. You guys go on a run. Now coach wants to go coach at Georgetown. I think that can grant a second time to leave. That's my solution to the transfer portal. Because if this allows year in and year out to be one and dones essentially but not one and done to the NBA, one and done at a school and then leave there and go to a different school. It's gonna ruin the game. Like I'm saying this nicely, it's going to ruin the game, I think. And I don't want to see that happen to college basketball because I love college basketball. I think it has the great thing about college basketball is that any team can really win any year. Now, again, it's mostly one and two seeds, but that still gives eight teams a mix, but they're not the same eight teams. It's not the same. If it was Duke every year, it wouldn't be fun. If it was Carolina every year, it wouldn't be fun. If it was Kansas every year, it wouldn't be fun. It's fun that we sprinkle in new squads here and there. Now I'll jump to my final four predictions after seeing this here. Excuse my sneeze. Looking here, Auburn and Florida and Duke and Houston. I think we all know how this is going to go if you watched my predictions for my picks. You'll know who I'm going to pick here. But if you haven't, if you're just new to the channel, to the Green Zone podcast, I had doubts about both Auburn and both Florida. I believe I had Florida making it to the Elite Eight, but losing to St. John's. So I did have that 1-2. And here I had Michigan State beating Auburn, which they almost did. But I don't feel good about either one of these teams. I really don't. They have different uh, strengths and weaknesses, but they're very similar, I think, in ways in which they play. But either one of these teams probably deserves to be in that national championship regardless. I'm going to go with Auburn in this game. I think Auburn plays better than Florida. I have my doubts about Florida. They had their trouble against Texas Tech. They can't be able to make those same mistakes against Auburn. I will take Auburn to go to the national championship. And when it comes down to Duke and Houston, this Houston squad is really, really good. I mentioned they have a lot of guys who have played together for a long time, makes it easier. But I'm still going to go to the Duke Blue Devils. I think Cooper Flag and company is the best team in the nation. And so I'm going to take Duke over Auburn in the national championship on Monday. So I'll come back to you guys on our next episode and I'll see how I did. We'll look at my bracket in total and maybe see the lingering effects of the NCAA tournament and where it might be in the NBA draft. Cooper Fly going number one. It seems like it. But we'll find out next time here on the Green Zone podcast. Thank you for listening to my little rant here about college basketball episode on the Green Zone podcast. I'll see you guys next time here on our YouTube channel. Also follow us on our Twitter page, Green Zone Pod, our baseball page as well, GRZ Baseball on TikTok, also Green Zone Baseball on YouTube as well. We'll see you guys next time here on the Green Zone podcast.